Respected Chief Guest, Mr. Tarun Rai, distinguished and honorable guests, members of our Board of Governors, our dear graduating students, their families, alumni, members of the press, Director Professor Uttam Kumar Sarkar, deans, program chairs, our beloved and respected faculty colleagues, dear staff members, the IIM Calcutta community, and all those who are gathered for this occasion virtually via the internet. Namaskar. Every year at the start of the convocation, I request you to pause for a moment and reflect. We should look into our hearts and acknowledge those who made the most important contributions in our lives. Such an act of pausing and reflecting should become a tradition, a pratha at every convocation of IIM Calcutta. For I believe real treasures must be visited again and again and again. There is only gain in doing so. So this year too, I would like for us to take a moment to recognize the parents who are gathered here to celebrate in your achievements and distinctions. It is the many sacrifices that they have made and their desire that you have a better life than them that has brought you to where you are today. I know the pride and joy they feel. It makes what you have accomplished that much more worthwhile. In honoring you today, we are also honoring them. Sitting amongst us and gracing this occasion are also our most revered faculty members and colleagues. These are men and women who have consciously chosen the most noble of all professions, teaching. We who received from them the most valuable gift possible in life, the most valuable gift in life is knowledge. Today I would like all of us here to pay our tribute to the teachers and professors here at IIMC and also across the nation who spend their life in the most significant but unadvertised work. Could I request you to indulge me? Could I request you, dear students, to please rise, please stand up. And please join me in thanking your parents and your teachers with clapping. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for this. My dear graduating class, today you graduate from IIM Calcutta and enter the world of professionals. In your time as students at IIM Calcutta, this probably will remain the single most important day on campus. All the hard work and toil is being recognized and culminating in you becoming the newest members of the family of IIM Calcutta alumni. An incredible distinction and a coveted privilege. But all privileges come with responsibilities. The privilege of being an IIM Calcutta alumni also immediately makes you responsible as ambassadors of IIM Calcutta, and I am sure you will discharge this responsibility with dignity and grace throughout your life. Please accept my heartfelt congratulations and admiration for all of you. You will recall we met over a Zoom session on 19th June 2021 at your orientation. You were the fourth batch to who I proposed a challenge. Do you remember the challenge? The challenge was this: can you be that batch which will graduate 100% together? This meant that your batch should not leave a single classmate behind when you go to your second year and not a single classmate behind when you graduate in April 2023. Do you remember why I posed this challenge and why I asked if you as a batch want to strive for this honor? It is not at all my intention to undermine your individual accomplishments. You will agree that pulling people along is far more empowering and ennobling than individually racing ahead. And in my experience, I have found that it is this trait that immediately catapults you from being potential corporate leaders to being invaluable assets to your nation. To help those amongst us who need a helping hand is a human quality that propels even organizations to becoming national assets. Here I wish for all of you to pause for a moment and think of those of your colleagues who are not here today, not celebrating, not graduating. You were 479 on 19th June 2021. You are 454 graduating today. I'm talking about the MBA. Over the years, this delta has steadily been reducing due to the continuous and timely efforts by the Institute, which tries to ensure that any deserving student is not left behind. I also request you to please delve into your hearts and ask, what could you have done to help them so that they too could have been here today? Please keep them in your hearts and remain friends. Continue to find ways to help others. Life is long, very long, and the balance sheet of life is only balanced at the end of the journey. So recognize early on what of your actions will become assets on that balance sheet. I know how proud you must feel to be part of this institution that values academic excellence and individual achievement. Over the last 4 convocations, I have tried to share with the graduating classes my thoughts on topics of social and national relevance, and I wish to do so today also. My talk today may be a bit boring for many of you, but I know that not so far in the future, there will be days when you will look back, and I know that you will then find value in these musings. So please indulge me today and listen me out. Successive batches of IIM Calcutta since 2018 have heard of my Padayatra from Kanyakumari to Srinagar. This was with my teacher Shri M. Many of you may have heard of this. We traversed a total distance of approximately 7,500 kilometers. We got to experience our vast land, her people, and our deep spiritual heritage, which welds our nation together. We stayed on a daily budget of less than rupees 500 per day. It was a way to inflict some poverty on ourselves over a prolonged period, 475 days. We stayed out of our comfort zones. For the first time in my life, I actually witnessed the immense beauty, the immense strengths, as also the challenges of our nation. Of the many strengths, let me pick up on the advantage we have because of the young age of our population, also called our demographic dividend. Of the challenges, let me pick up on poverty. Both these are diametrically opposite, and both these exert a fundamental impact on our society. Let me first look at poverty. It was the 475 days of the walk that I first fully appreciated the full value of money and why financial inclusion is key to social inclusion. Prior to this, I had worked in the villages of Gujarat as an advisor to the Gujarat Livelihood Promotion Company and Mission Mangalam, and clearly experienced that it was the inequitable distribution of the created wealth that is at the root of poverty. Our people create wealth but have very poor access to that wealth. And more disturbingly, they are not allowed to get ownership. They are allowed to get ownership to only an unfairly small proportion of the wealth that they help create. I realize that these wealth generators are like seeds. You need to nurture them, protect them, and value them to be able to harvest the benefits in a sustainable manner. True economic strength is also about making available the ownership of the wealth across the broadest cross-section of society. Even today, the largest mass of our population who still live in villages and smaller towns does not have ready access to finance. When they need capital, the nearest source is the local money lender or the jeweler. They mortgage or pledge their assets, such as their meager holdings, land holdings, or a Mangal Sutra or a bangle to access finance. The interest rates are extremely high, even as high as 2 to 3% a month. At such high rates of interest, a loan becomes a means of exploitation. Generations are never able to repay loans, and they are stuck in loans to repay. Such exploitation exists even in this age and day. This is what breaks the backs of a grahini, our homemakers, and our households. Why do we allow this to happen? Poverty persists even though, with the advent of the unified payment interface coupled with Aadhaar-linked bank accounts, it still persists. The Aadhaar-linked bank account should be helping banks monitor transaction data to use it to design products for those in the lowest economic strata. Dear graduating class, I want you to give me a small place in your minds and your hearts and park this thought. I believe that if people of your caliber and knowledge were to join your hands and your minds and your hearts and your efforts, you will find a solution that will allow affordable access to much needed finance to those in the lowest economic strata at a scale that will seriously challenge the exploitation they suffer due to high interest rates from the unorganized financial sector. To be able to walk this journey, as a first step, you will need to measure your own greed, assess it and grip it and have a grip on it. Individual human greed is at the root of poverty. There is enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed. Greed is not just financial. Anytime we take more than our need, that act can be classified as a greedy act. Today, I equate greed to violence. Trust me, economic and social violence are probably as lethal or maybe more lethal than physical violence. It is my view that poverty isn't a complex phenomenon, and complex financial terminology doesn't even touch poverty. Let me now look at our demographic dividend. This population of youth will also become old. Our median age by 2050 would have gone up by 10 years than what it is today, and it will be close to 40 years. If this population is unemployed, this demographic dividend will switch from being a demographic dividend to becoming a demographic disaster. A question I often ask myself: will our nation be able to generate enough jobs for all of them? If not, then what? What is required to make them employable globally? The educational and training needs to make such a population employable is a vast canvas. It is only in places such as IIMs, where eminent academicians meet with industry specialists, that there is an atmosphere where we can design new paradigms to truly address the root issues behind our nation's problems. For example, Can we at IMC, with your help, consider using our immensely successful long distance programs to equip our demographic dividend with skills so that they do not become a demographic disaster? Can there be research at IIMs to link poverty to greed? Can greed be defined? And therefore, can organizations and business leaders be taught not to be greedy? But this exercise isn't for the faint of heart. It must be undertaken courageously and with the full force of humanity. Only a teacher can illumine this path and help us discover ways forward. A teacher is like the flame of a lamp. The fire in that flame is the only known element in the universe that does not diminish or decrease no matter how much you use or take from it. A teacher's offering of knowledge is similar. It never diminishes, no matter how much they give you and me. You will recall that I spoke of greed being the main reason behind inequitable distribution of wealth. Yes, it's greed. That's why we don't distribute wealth equally. You will not be surprised if I shared that the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG 10, established by the United Nations in 2015, starts with asking for reduction in income inequalities as the means to address global poverty. And this cannot be done unless there is a more equitable distribution of wealth created. It is only those of us who have had the good fortune to have wealth, either we rose from poverty and have wealth, or by whichever means we have wealth, who can show the way out of this negative spiral of greed. Greed prevents us from sharing. This greed also blinds us from potential disasters. All of you are students of finance. Let me leave you to discover how the Silicon Valley Bank collapse can be linked to human greed. It was not in my mind to speak what I am about to share, but if one talks about greed, poverty, and finance, one must also speak about risks and mitigation of risks. You all will fully agree that the finance sector is always finding better ways to mitigate risk. This is prudence, isn't it? You will also fully agree that the majority of these risks are driven by human greed, and a very small percentage is driven by natural disasters, which are termed as acts of God. Well, I ask you, what is the way to mitigate the risk of a household? A household is the smallest unit of our society. Any homemaker will tell you that the surest means to mitigate risk is to save at the national level, which is referred to as the savings rate. As a society, we are naturally inclined to saving. Our mothers, our women who manage our homes and families know the value of these savings. So for heaven's sake, no matter how much finance we taught you, try also to understand and not throw away this practical knowledge of our deep-rooted culture. As a society, we must retain our savings rate. It's a powerful way to mitigate national risk. I don't claim to have solutions, but if my words today can infect you with such thoughts, and if such thoughts were to be your touchstones when you contemplate business decisions, I will consider my job done. Such social problems are solved by willpower of successive generations. Now that you are newly minted professionals, try to be part of teams that solve social problems with conviction and courage. As my teacher Shri M observes, when you do selfless work, have no fear. Even if you fail, you will win in the end. This is the courage we should have. Keep in mind that one day you will succeed. That is the call for hope. I have great hope for each of and every one of you. As you step out into the world, please accept my prayers for your continued well being, good health, happiness, and peace of mind. May the Divine always bless you. Thank you and Jai Hind.